Hello, BookTube. I have some mail for you today. A little bit of mail that I salvaged from the opening on a bright, sunny Monday. Just a lovely day. The only element missing is that it's still persistently a little chilly, a little too chilly for really comfortable long walks. Very weird. But bone dry, unlike a couple of other parts of the country, the West Coast in particular. Bone dry and just lovely. A good productive day as well. And I managed to save a couple of packages. The rest of the stuff, any new books that I get will eventually show up on this channel. I don't have to open them. And a periodical. I got the New York Review of Books. The lead article of which is the only thing I read. I read the New York Review of Books from front to back. And the only thing I read so far in this issue was the first one. It's an article about the case underway, the case in front of the Supreme Court of disqualifying Donald Trump from running for office based on an article of the 14th Amendment in the U.S. Constitution, which forbids people who are guilty of insurrection from running for office. If you've tried to overthrow the government, you don't get to run for office in the government. It was obviously made in the wake of the American Civil War. So the Confederate couldn't become president of the country he tried to destroy. And I started out, I've been disappointed a couple of times, including by an old friend at the Washington Post. I've been disappointed a few times by people taking up this issue and just getting it wrong, just cringing in anticipatory abasement of what they figure will have to be a record to explain in a coming fascist rule. See, I was equivocal. Please don't kill me and my family. Please don't put us in a camp. It's the only thing I can think of that would explain why anyone would make a cringing article saying, "Oh, we better not. We better treat Trump different than we treat anyone else." When I saw this, I thought, well, I love Sean Walentz's writing, so here's another case where I'm going to be badly disappointed. But no, he calls throughout the article to disqualify Donald Trump, to make sure that he is not on the ballot in any of the 50 states. He can't be legally. It's the one element that that Walentz doesn't really stress in his article. People have said it over and over again. The left-wing and right-wing commentariat have chewed it like a bone. But the simple truth is that the provision of the 14th Amendment that we're talking about is self-executing. The Supreme Court does not get a say. They're not involved at all. I don't know why we're all so piously waiting on them to hand down a ruling. They're not involved. If you are guilty of insurrection, you are disqualified from running for president. Simple as that. The article in the 14th Amendment does not require that you be found guilty of insurrection in a court of law. And the reason it doesn't require that is because it assumed, which is something that is absolutely true, which is that if you're guilty of insurrection, it will be obvious that you were guilty of insurrection. And it is. Trump tried to overthrow the government. He tried on January 6th to overthrow the government by violence, by a coup. But he had tried months before that. People have given testimony. Courts have determined that testimony is trustworthy. People have gone to jail or been given sentences. It is a matter of legal, incontrovertible, observable fact that he tried for months ahead of time to disrupt the election and overthrow its legitimate results. When it looked like that wasn't going to work, he resorted to violence. But either way, that is an insurrection. You do not need to wait for some court to find him guilty. You do not need to wait on the Supreme Court. They don't have a say in the matter any more than they have a say in the matter if somebody wanted to run for president at age 25. They are not qualified to do so. The Supreme Court doesn't have standing here. It's maddening to me that we're waiting on them because they're all bought and sold by the American Fascist Party. If we give them the chance to weigh in on the subject, they will weigh in favor of Donald Trump. Of course, that's going to happen anyway. The District Court of Appeal and the U.S. Supreme Court, there are cases in front of both now. Does Trump enjoy some sort of royal immunity from any kind of accountability to the law? And is he disqualified under the 14th Amendment? Both of those rulings are going to go in his favor, even though both of them are absurd. Both such rulings are absurd. But that hasn't happened yet, and it doesn't matter anyway what those rulings end up being. The truth of the 14th Amendment is plain. It's black letter law, as the lawyers say. And it doesn't require a court to say anything. It is self-executing. The whole world watched Donald Trump try to overthrow the government. The whole world watched him insurrect. So I'm glad, at least, for the New York Review of Books, I'm glad at least that Sean Wilentz didn't try to split the hair or, chin stroke, or, on the other hand, he didn't try to do anything like the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post has done. So that was my one foray into the periodical, into the New York Review of Books, was the first article. And it was a big sigh of relief. Well, I'll have to hope that a lot of the other articles in here are good. We shall see. There's at least one, I glanced at the table of contents, there's at least one other explicitly political piece that isn't a review of any book. I think it is technically the review of a book about George Santos. Those of you who are not in the United States might not know the story of George Santos, who was expelled from Congress. And if you do know the story, you probably think you must be reading it wrong, because it can't be true. The incredible amount of the Verdi opera of lies that he told about himself to get elected, and then once he was elected, in front of any camera that would turn on in front of him. The unbelievable Niagara Falls of lies that he told about himself. He was the subject of a make-weight book called The Fabulist, not to be confused with the book by the same name by Stephen Glass, who once wrote for major periodicals in the United States until it was determined that he made up a lot of his stories. And that was made into a movie. That Fabulist was made into a movie that wasn't called The Fabulist, but it starred Hayden Christensen in one of the only good acting jobs I've ever seen him do. But anyway, I know that article's in there, but when it comes to something like George Santos, I don't care. I care very much about the 14th Amendment. It is still mind-boggling to me. It is mind-boggling to me that a country is going to allow a violent insurrectionist to run for office and then lie about having won that office. It is laws or no laws. You think about a country like a living body, and when you put some horrible tainted bit of food in your body, you start getting convulsions. Your body starts working to vomit it up and squirt it out the back end. Your body reacts to that. It doesn't wait around and say, well, what does the brain say? It reacts to get rid of that poison element. I don't know why that hasn't been done in this case. Donald Trump is not a political candidate. He doesn't believe in elections. He doesn't believe in votes. He doesn't think that he doesn't think that he's ever participated in a legitimate election, even the one he won. He considers to be illegitimate. And the last election, the 2020 election, he says, he's repeated many, many times, that he thinks he won it in a 50-state landslide. And the mainstream press in the United States, which is, the hour came when we needed the press to do its job, and we have the worst mainstream press in the history of the United States. At the hour when we need the best one, or even a competent one, no reporter has gone to any ranking Republican at either branch of government and said, Donald Trump says he won the 2020 election in a 50-state landslide. Do you agree? No reporter has done that. It's just factored in. All over the reporting landscape, it's just factored in. Well, he's crazy, so we don't need to pay any attention to it. And we don't need to hold anybody accountable. Every Republican serving in Congress who has not already announced their retirement has no alternative. If asked that question, they have to say, I think he did, even though he didn't. They have to say something completely lunatic because they worship him, and the number one tenet of their faith is he's always watching. So they can't ever contradict him about anything. Even something lunatic. They can't contradict him. And every reporter in Washington knows that. They don't even bother to ask the question. But anyway, we'll move on to the books now. Let's hope, after this opening diatribe, let's hope that we don't have any political books in here. We've just got 2 packages. And I know from the 2 packages, right away, before I even open them, I know that neither one of them is either of the 2 things that I'm eagerly waiting for. I'm eagerly waiting for 2 particular things. And they're going to come to me in boxes. They're not going to come to me in envelopes. So I know that these aren't them. Okay, this is contemporary romance. Yes. Yeah, a contemporary romance. This is a February release? Yeah, mid-February. This is by April Asher, and it's called Not Your Crush's Cauldron. One of these cartoon covers, or at least the 2 people have faces. In this book, a witch takes a stroll on the wildish side, sparking an alert that saddles her with her very own guardian angel, who happens to be her secret crush and new roommate. Oh my God, I don't think I can keep up with all of the stuff that I just read. Olive Maxwell much prefers teaching about the supernatural world to taking part in it and leaves magical shenanigans to her 2 sisters. After assigning her college students a project designed to nudge them outside their comfort zones, Olive realizes she's never once stepped a toe out of her own, and it's about time that changed. Her first trip into the unknown? Moving in with her longtime crush and friend, tattooed, motorcycle-riding, pleasantly pierced Baxter Donovan, who is a guardian angel, not so extraordinaire, and has acquired so many black marks on his record it looks like a Scranton test. He's been given one last chance to keep his guardian wings, a high-profile assignment he knows all too well, and that is Olive. Okay. All right. Well, this comes out in the middle of the month. I'm not a big fan of contemporary romances, and I'm not a big fan of contemporary anything that takes the starting point that the supernatural is real. Olive is teaching students about the supernatural, and that is a battle I'm going to lose. There are universities that have classes in the supernatural, not the history of the supernatural, but how to do it, how to understand it, and how to do it, how to cast spells. None of it's real. It doesn't matter. And when a great civilization is tottering to its end, you see this sort of stuff all the time. It's a boom market for astrologers. It's a boom market for quack remedies like cupping or cold baths or whatever. When a great society is tottering to its end, one of the things that will cause that tottering is a complete disappearance of educational standards, which means you're going to have adults growing up thinking it's healthy to vape, thinking that cold baths are good for your body, thinking that the 4 humors of the body are real, and also thinking that supernatural is real. Obviously, I can't take any of that baggage into a harmless little romance, so I'll have to remember to control myself. Better than I'm doing on camera, of course. And then we'll do this last package, and then we'll be done. In a bit of a rocky mail haul, but once we're at the other end of it, it'll all be a pleasant memory. Let's see what we have here. This is a finished copy, so it could be another February release, which would be good. February shelves are pretty crowded. No, this is early March. This is the first week of March. So this is by Daniela Roos and Gregory Moan, and it's called The Heart and the Chip, Our Bright Future with Robots. It's kind of a nice cover. There is a robotics revolution underway. We employ robots that crawl, walk, jump, drive, heal, swim, clean, shapeshift, think, and fly. It's amazing. You want the stuff of nightmares, look up some clips on YouTube. Make sure you sort by date. Get something from the last month of a robot harvesting wheat, or dancing, or searching luggage. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. We have created robots out of biological cells. We have robotic honeybees and robotic window shades. A record 3.1 million robots are working in factories right now. Intelligent machines assemble computers, monitor air quality, explore the deep ocean, mow our lawns, and milk our cows. And they don't need to be paid, and they don't ever get tired. A far greater number of smart machines impact our lives in countless other ways, improving the precision of surgeons, cleaning our homes, extending our reach to distant worlds, and we're on the cusp of even more exciting opportunities. In this book, leading roboticist and computer scientist Daniela Roos and science writer Gregory Monet reframe the way we think about intelligent machines while weighing the moral and ethical consequences of their role in our society. Okay. This book introduces us to the cutting edge, the nexus between the field of robotics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. The authors explore what robots can and cannot do, how they work, and what their technologies tell us about the ethical demands of the future. Robots can mimic a great deal, but they cannot replicate care. They lack heart. This is our big misconception, a manufactured tension between people and robots, between the heart and the chip. The best results come from when the two entities working together, optimizing the strength of each. Okay, all right. What of any of those things, those actions that were listed earlier, requires heart? What of any of them do? None of them do. And also, all the stuff that you associate with heart doesn't actually require heart. For instance, a home caregiver does not actually require heart. Optimizing the strengths of each. Okay. Okay, all throughout this pub sheet, Daniela Roos is being described singularly as the author. Roos explores what robots can and cannot do. Roos's vision of the future is one in which robots help humans to realize a more fulfilling existence. So I don't know what this other guy, he's listed as a co-author, but I have no idea what he does. Maybe he's not mentioned because he's a man. I have no idea. But she's mentioned as the only author here. I'll just see. Maybe they each have introductions and they explain their working methods. But either way, great. Okay, fantastic. So this comes out in early March. It's a finished copy, but I don't need to think about it because I still have February to deal with. Lots and lots of February to deal with. So we have science and sorcery here for our books for today, plus the New York Review of Books, which has lots of great stuff in it. It looks like not just the one article that got my blood pressure up. The only thing that I noticed about the article when I was looking through the table of contents is that it doesn't look like there's anything in here that I have read or would review. So it'll be brand new territory to me. We'll see. I recognize almost nothing in here of something that I've ever received or wanted to request. But that makes it fun. So I'm going to wrap this up. That's the mail for today. I don't know if there'll be more mail today. I doubt it. But I have plenty of other stuff to talk about. So I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.